what's up? My name is Meg. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are talking about fantasy books that are not ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. I will be referencing my notes. So if you see me looking down, I have notes as to what each book series, book set, whatever you want to call it, is about. So that way I wrote them physically for how I would like them to be said. So if you do see me looking down at my notes, that is why. So the first book series that we have up is the Plated Prisoner series. And I know that I talk about this book series quite often, and it is indeed for the fact that I am genuinely in love with this series. So now it's a completed series. You would start with the first book called Guild, and the premise of the Plated Prisoner is when Fae have abandoned all of the world, the ones who possess power rule. This is a King Midas retelling. Arin has been dug out of the slums by King Midas. She is gold touched by Midas to show everyone exactly who she belongs to. She never leaves the confines of the palace, but when war comes to their kingdom and a deal is struck, then her love is challenged while her trust has been broken. Because these bars I'm kept in, no matter how gilded, are still a cage. Now, I give this book series a 5-star altogether. It is one of my absolute favorites. I constantly talk about this book series on this channel. So if you're a little sick of hearing about it, sucks. I'm sorry, but like, not really. Our next book that we are talking about is a standalone called Amid Clouds and Bones. A princess is determined to survive an arranged marriage to a heartless fairy prince who is ended up saved by a twist of fate where she is delivered right into the hands of his enemy as soon as she thinks she is able to tame the Seelie prince. Even though this Seelie prince loathes everyone, he loathes no one more than her. Granted, he loves to play games and she is more than happy and willing to comply. The next standalone that we are talking about is The Savage and the Swan, which is a standalone. The King of Wolves is more than a beast, The King of Wolves is more beast than man and is raised with one purpose, which is to avenge his parents by any means necessary. As the only heir in the Gracewood line, when she overhears her parents' plans for her future, she runs into a fate they desperately hoped to avoid. By the time she saw him coming, it was far too late for her family, kingdom, and her heart. This is inspired by Hades and Persephone, Rumpelstiltskin, and the Swan Princess. So after you read The Savage and the Swan, you will be reading The Wolf and the Wildflower. She fell in love headfirst with a fairy king as soon as their eyes had met. She was promised, granted that she did not advise to the warning, though it was not the war in which she had run from her king, but the betrayal in which he had hurt her in. A heartbroken fairy queen is in search for an evening of escape, waking the heart of a grumpy wolf warrior who will bring kingdoms to their knees in order to claim her. A week spent within his city and walls of his home was all it took for things to irrevocably change everything. This is a standalone fantasy where it takes place within the same world as The Savage and the Swan and should be read second, in my opinion. Now, this next book series I have done a video on my channel is the Heir of Broken Fate series, and it is not complete. Delilah Covington is forced to watch her people suffer under the sinful hands of her father, the king, while she herself suffers his cruel hands. Delilah longs for change. Her prayers goes unanswered when she discovers salvation. Fae are alive. In desperation, Delilah flees and crosses the border in hopes the Fae will help. But she isn't the only one who needs help. Caught in a web of lies and riddles, Delilah's only chance at hope is Nox, one of the most irritating and yet frustratingly charming Fae kings. Together, they will need to unravel the many mysteries to bring freedom to both their oppressed people. Now, this next book is a series. However, book 1 just came out. There is no talk as of right now when I am filming and when this video will be released of a book 2, but we are talking none other than the Never List. The four princes of Lumathest need a mate. Everyone in the kingdom wants a chance but her. Being threatened by the invaders, the kingdom is on the verge of chaos that no one can stop, unless these four immortal princes find their fated mate. Riley Gray snuck in for reasons of her own into the royal party where they choose her mate, and now they claim to have found the right mate, her. They have no idea the secrets she's hiding is big enough to damn them all. Now, another standalone, Fairytale, which, by the way, a good majority of these books are offered on Kindle Unlimited, so if you do happen to be a Kindle Unlimited girly, like me, definitely look into some of these. Darcy O'Sullivan receives a letter explaining that her biological father has passed, and she is surprised has included her in his will. The only condition is she has to attend the funeral. With having the promise of a sizable inheritance, she goes. But the moment she steps into Fairytale, odd things begin to happen. Odd residents, odd rumors, and odd deaths. Caleb Hale, a brooding male in the infamous Hale family, has her falling under his spell during the day. He has her stepping out of her comfort zone and embrace her inner sensibility. But at night, another man haunts her dreams. Amon de Arton, a nobleman who lived centuries ago. Amon is sweet and Caleb is intense and dangerous. Darcy feels more torn than ever, finding herself in a web of lies, deceit, and inexplicable events, making her question her own sanity. An ancient evil threatens the town and everything Darcy holds dear. She has to make a choice, but will she survive it? I also did make a video of me reading that book as well. Now we have the Court of Ravens duology. This is a dark romantic fantasy blending elements of vengeance, betrayal, and supernatural intrigue. The story follows a fierce and resilient protagonist woman, Gallienta, who navigates a dangerous world and complex relationships. At the center is her conquest for justice, which intertwines with the romantic entanglement that complicates her retribution. She faces morally gray characters, including a brooding love interest. She must navigate a landscape where trust is scarce and betrayal is always lurking. This book is intense with emotional highs and lows that kept me personally hooked till the very end. I also read this in my What I Read in a Week as a Mood Reader. Next, we have the completed series, which is Filthy Rich Vampire. Julian Roussex is expected to marry as being the eldest bachelor within his family. A cellist, Thea, literally stumbles into his path at a gala. He knows that she is everything he could never possibly fall in love with. Now that she knows about his world, she has become a walking target. She needs protection, which is how his plan unfolds. He makes her an offer where he'll pretend to be her lover as long as, for a year, she attends all things that the marriage events require of them. Each moment the two share, new dangers emerge, a desire forbidden, and an awakening of a long-dead heart and secrets that could tear them apart. Next, we have the Fae Kings of Eden series, which only, as of right now, 2 books are out, which is Viciously Yours and Obsessively Yours. Because they obviously follow different characters, I don't want to spoil too much about these books. So these are paranormal romance and fantasy novels set in a world where fae royalty and magic reign supreme. The stories outlined typically follow a protagonist who finds herself entangled in a complex web of political intrigue, dangerous magic, and forbidden love. She gets caught in a conflict between powerful fae kings, each with their own motivations and desires. The fae kings each rule a different realm within the mystical world of Eden, are characterized by their strength, authority, and dark allure. As our heroine uncovers secrets that could change the fate between both fae and human worlds, high intense romantic tension, high stakes, and captivating supernatural setting, all the while the themes follow the struggle between dark and light and destiny. Okay, so now for the Crowns of Nyaxia, there is currently 5 books out, but it is 3 sets of 2 duologies. So the duology that I'm going to talk about currently, because that is the only one that is currently out right now, is the one of Aurea and Rain. Aurea is entering a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. Winning will not as easy as it's between the 3 vampire houses. Survival for her is slim as she is a human daughter adopted by the Nightborn King. So she has to make an alliance with a mysterious rival, Rain. Everything about him is dangerous. He's a ruthless vampire, efficient killer, and an enemy for her father's crown. And not to mention her greatest competition. What terrifies her most is how drawn to him she is. But there is no room for compassion in the tournament. Ray may understand her more than she realizes. Their blossoming attraction could be her downfall. So next that I am talking about is the Broken Blades trilogy. Currently there are 2 books out, and the 3rd is on its way, and I literally cannot wait. The King of Houston must die. 5 of the most dangerous liars in the land have been mysteriously summoned together in order to see to having this job of a singular objective complete: to kill the immortal god King June. Under King June, the rich flourish and the poor suffer. Innocent are imprisoned, ruined, or even sold. Each has bitterness in their life: the hired hitman seeking an atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, or even the banished prince for his cruel crimes. None of them can resist the sweet and icy lure for vengeance. They can agree on murder and treachery, but the 5 killers, each versed in deception, lies, and betrayal, is not enough to forge an alliance. In order to survive, they will have to look past that and find a way to trust one another. Next, we have the Kindred's Curse series, which is also not completed. There are currently 3 books out, and trust me, that makes me so deeply, deeply saddened, because I am dying to know what happens right now, but I digress. DM Belsor, a talented village healer, has her life upended when her mother mysteriously disappears. She is drawn to the palace, where she crosses paths with Prince Luther, enigmatic, brooding heir to the descended throne, who watches her every move. DM unravels shocking truths about her lineage and begins to discover latent magical powers tied to her lineage. Caught in the tension of the Civil War and her forbidden attraction to Luther, DM must choose between loyalty to her allies and her intense feelings for the prince, navigating palace politics, secret alliances, and her own evolving powers, all while wrestling along with enemies to lovers romance with the slowest of slow burns. Now we have the Kingdom of Crows series, which is a completed trilogy. Fallon Rossi, a half-human and half-fae, or a magicless halfling, is despised by pure-blooded fairies, yet can charm beasts. When an oracle prophesizes she will become queen if she frees a set of enchanted iron crows, Fallon embarks on a quest of political intrigue, magical relics, and dangerous alliances. There is romantic tension of a love triangle and a slow burn blended with enemies to lovers, contrasted with a disillusionment. So now we are talking of the Oak and Holly cycle, which currently there are 2 books out: the Wren in the Holly Library and the Robin on the Oak Throne. Kierce McKenna, a skilled street thief and orphan, works under the guild to survive in this dangerous world. While attempting to steal a diamond ring, unaware it belongs to a monster, Kierce breaks the monster treaty. She is captured by the monster, and instead of executing her, he offers her a dangerous mission in exchange for freedom. In preparation, she trains under the monster. She discovers tensions between monster factions, black market magic, and extremist human groups. There is a slow burn, Beauty and the Beast style romance sparks between reluctant allies. Their relationship centers on trust, vulnerability, and mutual growth. They also explores identity, trust, trauma, and navigating a precarious peace between humans and monsters, and highlights on mythological rich lore, mature dynamics, and emotional depth. Now we only have a couple left. We have Metal Slinger, which there has been a book to confirmed. As far as when book 2 comes out, we are unsure. Bryn has been wanting to go to an annual market hosted by the Kenya, the very same people who exiled the Alaha to live life over the sea. A rite of passage for a young guard. She wasn't sure what to expect, but breaking a century-long peace treaty isn't what she expected. Neither is the aftermath encounter with an enemy soldier, but when she returns home to Alana, she is confronted with the aftermath of the day's events. The future uncertain as a threat of hunger looms over the people. With rumors of a growing rebellion, Bryn and her closest friends promise to stick together. When an unexpected visitor arrives, Bryn's loyalty is tested as she learns of a world of magic and treachery. Once her enemy, always her enemy, right? The dark, knowing eyes of a stranger make her question everything, including her heart. Next, we have the Crimson Moth duology. So Heartless Hunter is the book that we are going to be talking about because I still have yet to read Rebel Witch. That's on my list of things to read. So trust me, it's there. It's there. I just have yet to read it. Set in the aftermath of a bloody revolution, the New Republic has overthrown witches. Once rulers, now hunts them to near extinction. Witches bearing magical acting scars on their body mark them for death if discovered. Rune Winters, a born witch, orphaned by the Purge, inherited wealth to masquerade as a vapid socialite during the day and transforms into the daring vigilante, the Crimson Moth, by night, saving witches from extinction. Captain Gideon Sharp is the leader of the Blood Guard and staunch witch hunter, driven by a deep-seated hatred due to personal loss under the former witch regime. This is a cat and mouse, enemies to lovers. Rune initiates a bold plan of getting close to Gideon to uncover the Blood Guard's next move. Gideon's suspicions of Rune uses the same tactic, infiltrating her social circle. As the fake courtship deepened, genuine chemistry ignites, secrets and loyalties begin to blur in their cat and mouse relationship. There is a love triangle, dual identities, morally gray characters, trust, betrayal, and the high cost of power. There is also a dramatic climactic event. Assistant to the Villain, there is currently 2 books out. So it's a fantasy romance with a workplace romance. Think Once Upon a Time meets The Office. So it's a dual POV. So we have Evie Sage, a cheerfully determined who's desperate for a job to support her sick father and sister. A chance mishap with the kingdom's feared villain lands her a position as his assistant. The villain, brooding and ruthless and surprisingly handsome, he is impressed by Evie's grit and hires her. The dual POV reveals both his calculating villainy and hidden depth. At Massacre Manor, Evie handles scheduling, sinister errands, and even severed heads dangling from the ceiling, all with upbeat professionalism. A quirky staff, including a dragon trainer, a healer, and a talking frog. However, he only uses science. There is a mole within their ranks who's leaking the intel to King Benedict. Evie and the villain become unlikely partners to hunt down the traitor. The investigation brings family drama, loyalty, betrayal, and including a dramatic twist to end with a cliffhanger that leads right into Apprentice to the Villain. It's a slow burn, grumpy sunshine assistant romance unfolds through witty banter and emotional revelations, which balances comedy and darkness for a laugh out loud funny tone. I believe this is our last book, but there is currently only 1 book out, and the second book is coming out in October. So, raised in foster care and initially unaware of her lineage, Alexis Hart discovers that she is a Spartan, part of an immortal, godlike elite in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by titans. Alexis is whisked away into the Brood Spartan War Academy, where initiates face the Crucible, a deadly task to earn immortality. The academy is rife with danger, titans, rival Spartans, and political intrigue. She's mentored by iconic figures, Achilles and Pietro, Chiron, the ferryman of the dead, and Augustus, son of war, overseeing her mortal and metaphysical training. These Spartan males oscillate between hostility, obsession, and protective behavior toward her, creating a dark, high-stakes romantic tension. Alexis does deal with serious childhood abuse while resulting visible scars that shape her resilient yet guarded personality. Themes including survival, trauma, belonging, and predestination versus self-determination, and moral grayness of power. This is a dark fantasy romance with snarky, sarcastic humor and an enemies to lovers reverse harem arc. And that is a part of the Villains of Lore series, which the first book in that series is The Blood of Hercules. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy today's video of me talking about all of the fantasy books that you could possibly read that aren't in any way, shape, or form ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. If you were watching this and you have any book recommendations, please leave them in the comments for people down below. Let them get to know some books as well. But I hope you did enjoy today's video. Do all of the YouTube things you know how to do, and I will see you in a bit. Bye!